Okay, let me give you a little background of the script that we're going to do today. So I have called it a Gothic script, and the Gothic scripts were prevalent between about 800 AD to about 1400 AD till almost the not till almost, definitely till the printing press was invented, which was in the middle of the 1400s, like 1468 or something like that, by this guy named Johann Gutenberg. There's a beautiful documentary on that where Stephen Fry has tried to recreate the Gutenberg press. You'll get a lot of information from that. I'll send you the link. So, in fact, this script was so prevalent that the first book that was printed, if we imagine how was the first book, how did the first book look, the first printed book, to our minds, we think of books like today. We think of type like today, and you say, "Oh my God, that was so great." But you'd be surprised that one of the first books that was printed, or the first Bible, which is called the Gutenberg Bible, that was printed, was made using a typeface modeled on the Gothic script, because that was the script that was readable by most people. They were educated in reading and writing that script. So it only made sense that the Bibles that were written in the Gothic script for almost 600 years continued the same script. Over time, that script changed, and there's a different story to that as well. So the Gothic scripts were used mostly in Western Europe. In Eastern Europe, the scripts were slightly different because the language was slightly different and it required different kinds of forms, but they're all still based in the Latin alphabet category. So the Gothic script is there's some very interesting things about Gothic, and it's good to learn the Gothic script as the next script from the Roman script because of how well its guidelines have been uh,
Mhm.
made. Um, Sometimes when we look at the Roman script and then look at the Gothic, you feel that Gothic should be older than Roman because just looks so
Okay.
archaic. But it's amazing how the Roman script has went into a decline and then revived again later on because it has absolutely perfect uses for something like even a computer font today. Things like serifs, the letter balances, and all of that is
Mhm.
just impeccable. So the Gothic script is actually younger than the Roman script, but it went into disuse simply because it was a little difficult to read and recreate for the purpose for which writing became used. Like in the 16th and 17th century, apart from just writing for Bibles or religious books or for political documents, writing was became more I guess it was required more by common citizens for record keeping,
Mhm.
because the mercantile community started becoming very prosperous. There was a lot of business. Imagine sending out a bill written in Gothic script, that would just drive you
Mhm.
nuts. So scripts changed because their purpose changed, the people who are going to use it changed. Sometimes the speed of writing changed it. So next week we will tackle some of the more recent scripts that used uh, the same pen but started writing a more cursive hand just to make your writing faster.
Mhm.
So, the only big revival of the Gothic script actually happened in the 1920s. Yes, yes, Malika.
Last time you covered the Roman script, so there is no lowercase letters in Roman script.
No, they
Okay.
didn't need lowercase letters.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
lowercase letters were invented much later. That was, in fact, in the 800s, not 800s, yeah. Actually, in 800 AD, when Charlemagne became the king of Europe. I'd never even known of this, but he is
Mhm.
considered the father of Europe because he unified Europe. Till then, they were all different factions, but he was a Germanic king, not a king really, he was from a Germanic tribe which but he had obviously ambition. So as the Roman Empire declined, Charlemagne just came and took over, but he had a certain sense of nobility where he said, if I want to make it as great as the Roman Empire under me, there are a few things I need to keep like the Romans did, and one of them was unifying the script. So he got hold of this English or Irish at that time. I don't know if there's any separation. So there was an English monk named Algonquin, whom he deputed to collect samples of writing all across Europe and devise a script that would unify everyone. So Algonquin sat around with all these different scripts from the east, west, north, south of Charlemagne's kingdom and came up with a script that was easy to read even if you were a new learner to it. So if I have Gothic in my area of a certain type, I come across a new A. It's not so different that I won't recognize the writing in that script. So that script was called the Carolingian script. And in that script, he also started the policy of writing a capital letter and a small letter so that they could write speedily. So that is how the minuscule letters came about. It was again just for speed. All right. So once the script was made, depending upon which region you were and what language you spoke, the script was modified to your language. There were a few alphabets that were added which were not present in the Latin alphabet. The Latin alphabet had only 20 letters, a lot of letters double timed for sounds. Like you had the letter C, which was used to make the C sound, the K sound as well, and the G sound as well. So it could get very confusing. If you're leaving the house and you say, can I please have my coat? Somebody goes and gets you your goat. It got a little crazy. So we actually apparently have a date of 230 BC when a teacher of this script decided, I've had enough of this confusion. I'm going to change this letter. And that's how you'll notice that the C and the G look pretty much the same with just one alteration. So he invented the letter G and said, anytime you need the G sound, please use the C with a stick so that we know that it's not a C and the next time you don't get me my goat. The same thing happened with the letter I and H. These sounds were not, the sound of J was made by a combination of letters with I. And of course, if you have written I and a certain word, if you're familiar with the language, you know that the sound is J and not whatever sound I would make as the start of the word. So, yeah, I could go on for a week with all the stories that we have in lettering, and they're absolutely fascinating. I will share at least 3 or 4 video links. I think I've shared 2 already, but I'll reshare them. So there's a 4-part documentary in 2 different videos by a very renowned calligrapher called Peter Jackson. And this documentary was made sometime maybe in the 80s or could have been even in the 70s. And it's called The Story of Writing. I will share the link so you don't have to bother searching for it. Then there's another one which is again called Story of Writing or something like that, which is a more modern take on writing. And the third one is the recreation of the Gutenberg press by Stephen Fry. So I will share all of these with you, and maybe over the weekend just have a look. These are some of my most favorite documentaries. Like people sit and watch movies over and over again, which also I do. I watch these documentaries because they're absolutely thick with a whole lot of information. The more often you listen to it, the more, I guess, information embeds. Now, you might wonder why I'm telling you all this history. We should be getting to writing. The reason I want you to be aware of this history is because we come to writing from a very different angle. We are taught writing more for its functionality. They sit us down and say, this is A, this is B, this is how you have to write, this is how you have to write a letter, you have to write a poem, write a composition. They'll give you the format, and they expect you to jump into this whole culture of writing and using words for communication in pretty much the same form that it has evolved and become as maybe people who started communicating for so many thousands of years. But when you do calligraphy, we have to step a little outside of that narrow rut, because while in the rut you have to do certain things which are more functional, calligraphy allows you to experiment with those letters more artistically. And in that area, just on the periphery of this rut, you're given ample freedom to play with the same forms that heretofore you only used for communication. So the few things that you need to keep aside are: one, the tools that you use. While we have very sophisticated tools now available, they are by no means the only tools you can use. There's a lot of freedom for you to invent and manufacture or fashion your own tools, depending upon your purpose. The second one is readability. So, while in the function of writing, readability is paramount, in calligraphy, readability comes slightly lower. The beauty of the letters is more important. And think of it this way: if there is something that is really beautiful, will you give it more time? Like, if there is a beautiful structure on top of a hill, would you not take the time to climb up the hill to enjoy the beautiful structure? So, when you are practicing calligraphy, and this happens to me almost every time someone comes and says, but this is not readable, it becomes your duty to inform the person that this lettering is not meant for mere function. It gives you an extra layer of a certain joy, which, again, if you are aesthetically sensitive, you have the time to enjoy it for yourself. So, with that in mind, when you are making these forms, remember that you have to give them time. You have to give it time to practice, to get the forms very perfect, and to be able to enjoy the beauty of the balance, the spaces, the negative spaces. Because without that, you are slipping back into the rut where speed is important. Absolute clear lettering is important. It does not need to have any flourishes. It, in fact, doesn't even need to be beautiful anymore, as long as you make your point as fast as possible. So that we are at two different spectrums of what letters can do. So, I'm going to begin giving you some information about these letters, which I would like you to just observe. You don't have to do this with me right now. I will tell you what part you need to do, and we will make those exercises then. But till then, I want to explain a little bit of the terminology and the general ethic behind Gothic letters. So, the first thing is, Gothic letters is an umbrella term for a huge, uh, I guess, range of letters, and there are different ways in which they are made. But there is one thing common in all these, is the fact that these letters are look like Gothic windows. So you will have spiky tops and bottoms, and almost like a hexagonal face shape. And all the letters are built on that hexagonal shape with a few lines going up, down, turning around. But that hexagonal, almost like a Gothic window shape, continues throughout. So it's almost like a lace that with a few decorations around it. So this Gothic script that I'm showing you is a very generic script, great to start with. The other names for scripts like these are called black letter, Schwabaker, there's fracture. So you'll find a whole range of names, and all of them are fine. All of them will have slightly different. It's like different states in India. Everybody is Indian, everybody understands everything, but their food is slightly different, clothes are slightly different, but it's all just one nation. It's something like that. Okay, so to start with, these letters are written in on the surface that was used at that time was vellum. So vellum is calf skin, which is made from a big process of shaving away the hair, several layers of the skin, and then drying that vellum to prepare the calf skin. The tools that were used for writing were fairly simple. Often they would use a quill. So quill is, I have a quill like this. This is made from a peacock feather, not the best feather, but this was one that I had to practice on. And it is cut to the shape and size you need, usually with a sharp edge, with a flat edge, so that you can get a flat line. Now this quill is not really treated, so I can't write with it, but this is what we are substituting with our chisel pen. The inks that we used were either called iron gall or ox gall, which was made from this tumor-like development in oak trees. I think where you guys are, there will be a lot of oak trees, and if you see the bark of an oak tree, you'll see these circular things growing out of them. That is what is harvested from the tree, and then it's boiled and treated and made into a pigment called ox gall. So the ox part has nothing to do with the animal ox. I think over time the pronunciation just changed to ox. It is actually ox gall. And these inks were extremely corrosive. So the only thing that worked with them is a quill. Of course, you could also shave and shape the quill whenever you wanted. And by the way, the knife that you used for that is called the pen knife. That is why you find little tiny knives are called pen knives. You wouldn't even have known. And these pen knives were used even till the 60s to shave these wooden pens. Let me show you that pen. Oh, my wooden pen is missing. I'll get that to you. I'm sure it's here somewhere. All right. So, yeah. So, I don't even know where to begin. Right. So, let's start with how the script works. Now, we have at our hand a pen which has a flat tip. A chisel marker will be a pen which is cut at an angle. So it is flat, but it is cut at an angle. Both these pens are perfectly fine to use for calligraphy. The advantage of a pen like this is you can make really fat lines by holding the pen in such a way that you press the entire side of the flat shape, or if you hold it in this manner parallel to the line, you get the thinnest line possible. So these are the two variables in the pen, that's all. Yet, because of this, we can create all sorts of shapes which have a lot of dynamism. So, our script is based on what's called a diamond shape like this. So, don't draw this right now. I want you to just observe. And what you'll notice is that I have kept my pen at just one angle. So this is the angle that I have made with respect to the horizontal line on which my letter sits. Usually the angle is somewhere in the vicinity of 45 degrees. But 40, 42, 47, it doesn't really matter, because imagine you're holding your pen at a particular angle, you might tilt it, but somewhere in this range is fine. The line on which your letters are placed, this is called the baseline. And the height to which you will make the letters, especially the minuscule letters, the small letters, is called the X line. Now, it's a big mystery why it is called the X line, but everyone calls it the X line. We still need to discover why. The height of the letter, so the distance from the baseline to the X line, this is called the X height. Now, this is important because when you are writing any of these ancient scripts, they will be introduced to you in terms of their X height. And the X height is measured very cleverly in terms of the width of the pen. So in this case, I know that the width of my pen is 3 mm. But if I had a random quill like this, I'm not really going to measure it at 3 mm or 2 mm or whatever. I will keep this measure depending upon how many letters I can fit in a line on a page, so that I can figure out, or I can calculate how many pages I am going to need to write a particular book, and accordingly then I can order that vellum. So because it was so precious, you had to have some kind of unit measure for everything. Once you have this, it's like saying how many liters or gallons can your car hold. Based on that, you will decide on a budget for your travel cross country, and then you know whether you want 2 people to share or 4 people to share. It's simple as that. So they came up with a genius tactic to measure this X height. I absolutely love this inbuilt math that they've created. So what they did was, on the baseline, or actually forget the baseline at this point, the measure of the height of the letters comes from making these really short flat lines, not at 45 degrees, just flat lines, one above the other, so that you create a scale. And this scale can be your measure in terms of pen widths. So we have a scale created right now in pen widths. And I have broken that scale down into a 2:5:2 proportion. So that's this is a general proportion for Gothic scripts, unless specified otherwise. So I have 2 pen widths on top of 5 pen widths on top of 2 pen widths. This is the X height, right? This is the ascender height or ascender space. And the line on top is the ascender line. This one you know is the X line. This one you know is the baseline. And the bottom is the descender space. And the line over there is descender line. The reason why we have separate words for that is because I can tell you something like make a G which goes halfway down the descender space. It does not always have to touch the descender line. So we want to keep a different term for the space and for the line. The line is used to measure and to separate. The space is to give you an idea of how far you need to use it. So this is the space in which our letters are written, the minuscule letters are written. And anything above this becomes the ascender, anything below that becomes the descender. So let me try writing the O one more time. Once I have this measure, I can recreate this proportion anywhere with any pen. So suppose I use a larger pen. This looks like a slightly bigger width. And I'm going to make a scale over here using the red pen. So the scale is made by touching the pen shapes to each other. No overlaps allowed, and of course no gaps allowed. And one thing that can be done like the ancients did is instead of drawing lines with a pen, how are you going to erase that? You can draw lines using something like a butter knife or the back of a cutter or a blade. In my case, I'm just using this tool. So what I can do is make an indent. And this indent was made in the vellum so that you only see it when you need to see it. And once the book is bound and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, once it's bound and placed with weights on top, these lines will then just blur and merge. So this is a great trick if you want lines only for a short while. Say you're making a card for somebody. You don't need to use pencils to draw lines. Just use the back of a butter knife. Nothing too sharp to make a very blunt, even a toothpick is fine. So I have no lines over here, but I do have indents, so I can see where my lines are. I have given myself a space of 5 pen widths, and I do the exact same thing over here. And I can rest assured that the proportions of my letters are going to look exactly the same. So if I were to take a picture of this and superimpose it on this picture, the thickness versus the space between, all of this will look exactly the same. This is just a miniaturized version of the big letter. But in this scale, if I try to make an O using the 3 mm pen, it totally changes the shape of the letter altogether. Okay, so proportion is very, very important. All right. Would you like to try making these now? You can either make the notes exactly like how I've made, that will help. It'll also help you to use your pen a little bit. And those of you who have an oblique cut chisel pen like that, a good way to hold the pen is keep the taller side towards your thumb and the shorter side towards your index finger, and ensure that the entire flat surface makes contact with the paper. And take your time, don't rush through this. As you finish, let me know, I'm right here. So then when everyone finishes, we'll move forward. You don't have to draw this. I'm just drawing this to instruct you to keep the angle constant.
Aditi, can you show the first, like the first line, how you made the left line, vertical line?
The vertical line?
Yeah, on the O, vertical line.
Sorry, I did not get your question.
So the O, the vertical line on the O, the
Oh,
first
oh,
line.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can show you that. Yeah, so you keep the angle of the pen at 45 degrees,
Mhm.
and then you just pull the line downwards in the middle of your X height, and then you, with the same angle, bring it downwards 45 degrees negative, and on the top you do the same thing. You don't start the line on top, but you start it next to the first stroke, and likewise you end it next to each other as well. Okay, so this brings me to what is called the ductus. So ductus is when you will see instructions given in this form. You will have lines and arrows that will show you how to construct that letter form, and these lines will also be accompanied by numbers. The arrows will be accompanied by numbers to give you a sequence. So this system is called the ductus. All right, have you managed to make these? Let's do the. If you need more time, just let me know, then I'll move on to the exercise afterwards.
Aditi?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a question.
yes,
So the pen should be at 45 degree for all the four strokes.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of tricky to have it. I will just show what I made. So the
Yes,
first one.
yes, yeah. That is very normal. We often tend to change our line according to the tip of the pen. So either you will make your lines like these, coming a little to the right, or
Mm-hmm.
you will subtly have changed the angle of the pen and made it flat, because it's extremely unnatural for us now to keep a line, sorry, the tip of the pen at a particular angle and yet make a line perpendicular to the baseline. So that is part of the practice of the hand and the eye uh,
Mm-hmm.
to just ease through this without having to worry about the angle of the pen.
Yeah, if I look at the angle of the pen, the
Yes.
lines I miss.
Yeah, so
It's vice versa.
correct. The trick is to position your pen where you are going to make the line at 45 degrees, and then don't look at the pen or the tip of the pen, look at the paper. So
Hmm.
there you will know how far the line has to go. That sometimes works in the beginning. This is just a beginner's problem, so don't worry about that. You will
Okay.
soon jump over this hurdle.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give you a bunch of exercises. Now that you know that you have hit a hurdle, we don't have to keep bumping our head on the hurdle. Let us train our hand to jump over the hurdle with less frustration. So we're going to make a bunch of these lines on which we are going to eventually write the letters. So if you have a scale, I want you to measure a few lines from the top. I'm measuring at about 6 centimeters from the top. That's only because I'm such a stickler for straight lines. I get very upset when I don't get straight lines, especially with writing. If you ask Archana, these are just the rare occasions during which times I use tools. I'm not much, I don't use tools when we are drawing at all, because there tools can actually hamper your growth. But here, not drawing tools, you're not doing justice to the precision of the script. Okay, so I have made a horizontal line. This is going to be the top, and then I made a vertical line, which is going to be my margin.
Hmm.
And on the margin, I'm going to make a scale. So I'm making a scale with this pen. You will write with whatever pen you make the scale with. So if you are going to write with a particular pen, make the scale with the same pen. You cannot change, as you can see, you cannot change the pen after you have made the scale. And this scale can be made like a continuous series of short lines like this. And in the beginning, I'm going to encourage you to always start from the margin line. You will see me do something like this. I'll make the line like here, and then I'll start away from the margin and bring the line to the margin. But if you miscalculate, you can create overlaps. So the best thing to do is touch the margin on the spot that you know the earlier mark has been made to, and then make this. So you have to be able to make straight lines. Now in this case, if you have a chisel marker, turn the chisel marker so that the flat edge aligns with the margin line. So often I found, because this is not our native script, in many Indian situations, they don't even bother teaching the students about the scale of letters. And it's really sad because, I mean, if you are going to learn something, you may as well learn it properly, because then our students often feel at a loss because they don't know how to, like, if you were to engage in a calligraphy activity somewhere, you don't want to suddenly be faced with a question mark when your instructor says, okay, now everyone make lines to this particular scale, and you don't even know where to begin, literally. So I do spend more time on explaining the technicalities than just drawing the letters, so that I can make you independent. Whenever you are faced with drawing or making these letters, you have a new script, a new exemplar, which is a chart of all the letters. You will never feel at a loss. You will always know how to figure out the scale, or you look for an exemplar with the scale. And if you are familiar with these basics, you will very easily find your way through. Making the letters is not what Gothic script is all about. That will take a lot of time, but understanding how they were created and why they are the way they are is more important. So I'm using a scale right now just so that I can quickly measure, but you can make the same scale on two sides and join the letters also. You have to be very precise. I'm just visually joining them. It helps that I have a roller scale so I can press, but this roller is not dependable at all. Huh? So there is going to be a little difference of maybe a few here or there, which I will visually have to detect and mitigate. So I've made the first section, which is a 2-5-2 scale section. So all of you can first practice these basic strokes here. Start off with making a small zigzag line which goes at 45 degrees up, 45 degrees down, but should not come below that X line. Up, down. So you get nice crisp corners on the top as well as the bottom. And you can complete this whole line right up to the end. Again, when you're making this, just check, are you holding your breath? Do not hold your breath when you're making these strokes. Just relax. If you feel stressed, make one stroke at a time with an exhalation breath. Every point at which you feel that your line is not crisp, make a mark, make a note of that, and observe it. Suppose you made a line that is crooked or has marks like this. Let me show you. Say you're trying to do this, but you'll end up doing this, where the angle has changed. And then you don't know how to go up again. Or this happens. All of these are your hand adjusting to not moving the angle of the pen. So bring your pen close to that line, adjust the angle and try drawing a short line right there. So you know how to draw the next line. You can make a mark like this and like this. So you know you have to keep all this in front of you. The learning in calligraphy happens better if you have identified the spots where things are going wrong and corrected your method. Malika, hold the book always. Keep your other hand on the book at all times because then your hand becomes a lot lighter. Otherwise, there's a danger that you might be pressing your pen too much on the paper and the ink might be blotting. So this is stroke 1. The next you can practice are vertical stems which look somewhat like this. So again, keep the pen at a 45-degree angle, and in order to pull a line straight down, if you hold the thumb and the pointer in the same place, you have to move the whole hand. But if you bring your thumb just a little behind, align it with your first knuckle, then all you need to do is move your fingers. You just rest your pointer on top of the pen and just drag it down like that. It's a much more stable line. So you position your pen and take your thumb behind and just drag the line straight down. This is again a new grip, so it should take some time, but it's much more stable than trying to make that line without that grip. We do intend to have a wedge on both sides. So you will have a point on the top right of this pillar and the bottom left of this pillar. This is intended. Make a few of these so that your hand gets warmed up a little bit. Okay, now do the same thing, horizontal lines. So what you will notice is that all the lines have different thicknesses. The angular line going up will be one thickness, angular line coming down will be another thickness, and also between the vertical and horizontal lines the thicknesses are slightly different. This is a very unusual experience as well because normally we try to keep the thickness the same throughout, at least mentally. Are you getting these shapes? Alright. Now let's try drawing that oval shape again. So since our oval has this triangular shape at the top and bottom, as you can see, you don't start the vertical stem from the X line to the base line. You make it in a space between the two. And you have the exemplar, so you know. How to sequence the strokes. Now, the distance between the strokes should be such that the space used up by the stroke, the space used up within the letter, must be equal. So this space obviously is going to be equal to this space, but must also be equal to this space in between. So these letters are written very, very narrow. So a little insight into Gothic windows being like this. These were buildings which were again built during the Dark Ages. I suppose they were called Dark Ages because there was just too much darkness in terms of lack of light. Though Dark Ages are also thought of as the worst times in human history, they came up with some of the most amazing art and calligraphy during that time. So I think that definition needs to change. And these tiny windows were made only so that they could keep their homes warm. I'm sure all of you are who are living in places that can get really cold. The last thing you want is a gap in the door for that chill to come in. So they tried to keep the windows only as big as they needed to be for circulation and maybe a little bit of illumination, which eventually, for illumination, they turned it around and started making stained glass windows so that they could conceal the space and yet allow light in. But in many medieval castles, you will notice that either the window is a straight base with a triangular top or a triangular top and bottom to create this elongated hexagonal shape. Okay, now if you're
What
comfortable
can
with
you do the second line in the O again?
this one,
Like the right hand one,
this
the
one,
last. Oh, okay. Yeah.
so what about it?
Can you make that again?
Okay, it's actually exactly like the first line in the same place.
Mhm.
Let me show you. You want to observe this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you how I do this. Now I know that these two strokes come next to each other. So I visualize where the third stroke, that's this stroke, is going to go. And I place my pen to the left of that stroke on the 45-degree angle, bringing it down like this. And I know at 45 degrees where the oblique stroke has to go. And now it's just a matter of repeating the same in the other order. And you place the strokes next to each other like Lego bricks. You don't overlap. Not here for sure. Does that help you, Malika?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now let me show you some other letters. Now, one consistent shape you will make is a diamond shape, which is making a stroke the length of the pen width itself. So it becomes a diamond. And this diamond shape is used for most letters, tops and bottoms. So here's one letter, diamond. I'm taking the pen right back into the middle of the diamond, make a stem coming almost to the bottom, to the baseline, and then going back into the diamond shape, the stem shape to create another diamond. And using the left edge of my pen, I will draw out a slight curved line to create a foot shape. This is our letter I. I will write this ductus for you. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now it's assumed you know that you have to hold the pen at that 45-degree angle. That's why you'll see the stroke on 4 is like a hook. So you know that you have to keep that pen at that angle, and when you make the first little stroke, that's going to give you a slight fat line, and then the end of that stroke, even if you just keep the pen flat and pull it down, you will get the same thin line, but your discretion should allow you to tilt the pen to the left edge and still pull a hairline down.
Hi, Aditi.
Hi, Archana.
I tried to do something, but I didn't have a proper pen, but I did try to make with the markers.
Oh yeah, or you can use a flat brush.
Yeah, I was also trying to do something. It was like practicing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on the right
Yeah,
track. Yes, yes. This
yeah.
looks fine.
No problem. Thank you. I'll be dropping off now.
Okay.
We'll check the recording.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
So next week I will join an hour earlier. We'll go back to
Oh,
the original time.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.
Aditi,
Yes.
can you show the eye once again?
Yes. Okay. So we make a diamond shape, a stem, diamond, and then with the left tip of my brush or pen, I drag a line up, and here I'll drag a line down.
Okay.
The dot on the eye is not really that important. So if you want, you can make a diamond on that also. There are different ways in which you can complete that stroke. Malika, hold the book.
Yeah.
So from the diamond, how do you bring the stem down in the same 45-degree angle?
Yes.
And then the bottom diamond, so I get something like this.
Let me see. Yes, you have to overlap those strokes. Let me show you with colored pens.
Yeah, mine are clumsy too. The dragging down the line from the diamond, that's
Yeah, let me show
yeah,
you. Yes,
yeah.
that's again common. It's possible that you are making those strokes one after the other, but
Mm-hmm.
consider this. This is our diamond.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the diamond, so I go back into the diamond. I place my pen right in the center, and here I pull the line down. Can you see this overlap?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll make the diamond again. At the bottom, again with an overlap.
Oh yeah, I got it with the overlap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so you got this trick now.
Yeah.
Now, if you do this twice, you will make one more letter. So you create the same shape twice, and this time you create the next shape again pretty close, and you get the letter U.
Oh, okay.
So it's exactly the same thing. Now, where to place your pen so that you get uh, an equal negative space inside, which is called the intra letter space. That is something you will develop with practice. I'm sure somewhere in the world somebody has got some trick about how to know exactly where to place a pen, but that is not me. So if you come across somebody who can tell you, okay, now if you use this technique, you will be able to guarantee that the space is perfect, please share it with the rest of the world. We all need that help. But till then, we just have to practice. Okay, so I'm going to give you two more letters now. This time, again, it's diamond, stem, diamond. But you will make the next stroke next to the top diamond. But I usually extend a line to the side at 45 degrees so I can place the next diamond better. You don't have to do that. Like, you can just do this.
Oh.
And you get the letter M. I like your reaction. Isn't it so magical? It just seems like, wow, the logic is just so elegant.
Yeah. I
This was
can't believe like letters were written like this.
exactly, and I remember my reaction to this was exactly the same.
Yeah. It's just a single letter, how
Yeah.
much it takes.
So in some respects, I love that because this was written first for religious reasons or sometimes for
Mm-hmm.
political reasons, the stakes were high. You would not want to make anything that was dedicated to either your god, or in many ways the royalty were the version of god on earth for many
Mm.
cultures. You wouldn't want to make anything that was shoddy, which is the case with any kind of reverence. You would want to put your best stuff in front of the deities. Like, even in India, we don't pick flowers from the ground for the puja. You'll always pick a fresh flower off the plant because it's considered clean. There is a certain sanctity to that offering. And that is why I feel they spend so much time in perfecting these shapes, putting a lovely logic to it, and the time.
Yeah, so I have one question.
Yeah.
This is the oldest script?
It's not actually. What we did was, let me show you some series of scripts. But before that, let me just show you the end. So you're on the right track, Malika.
Uh,
The N is also written exactly like that. You just need to take care that there are no gaps in the stroke and the strokes overlap. Let me show you some pictures of the history or evolution of this letter form. Okay, I have this wonderful book if you would like to pick it up. I don't know if it's still in print, but this is one of the best books ever in the art of calligraphy. I'll share a picture of this. If you can pick it up, just pick it. There are many books now, but this one is absolutely wonderful. So, this is how the timeline of the scripts looks. We have a date from AD 100 to 2000. This is the time as it from the oldest to the newest script from top to bottom, and these are the different families as they evolved. So we have a Roman script in 100 AD, which was, you will see a few letters that look familiar. You have an N, U, A, maybe a version of a K that looks upside down. Then you have a Greek uncial, again, no big and small letters, it is just capital letters. You don't have to remember any of this because it's just for your knowledge. And then you had imperial capitals, which were the more formal version of this cursive hand. This was 2000 years ago. And
oh,
here somewhere you start seeing a little bit of the broad edge pen becoming Gothic. But this is where it starts becoming more prominent. So from 1300 AD to about 1500, Gothic was most prominent. And
oh,
the
okay.
Gothic script, sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, yeah, okay. It's interesting to know that's all the different types of script
Yeah,
and how it has evolved till now.
yes. I'll share a picture of this map if you want, just so that you have it in front of you. Okay, now that you have written these three letters, we will make our first word, which is often the first word written for most calligraphy students. I am now ignoring this descender space. Usually, if I have to make more lines here, I would make an additional space at the bottom here for an ascender space. This is only for practice. But often in books, the ascender and descender space would be common for the two letters, two lines. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to make one common line. And we are going to try writing the word minimum. So I want you to observe how I write it first, and then I'm going to let you try. As you can see, I am making exactly the same strokes one after the other.
Again and again.
Again and
Yeah.
again and again. Isn't it just so crazy and yet so beautiful?
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm.
So pretty. And just, what are you thinking? So, the test
Yeah.
for whether or not you are doing this right is so simple. You just cover the bottom and you cover the top diamonds.
Oh, okay.
Check if you're getting all the bars equidistant. That's the test. Isn't it so cute? I just love
Yeah.
it. So I'm going to share with you an exemplar like this, which has all the letters and numbers written. So we have I, N, M, U, V, W. I think you should be able to make these.
Okay.
There are a few tricky looking strokes, but just look at the direction in which the line goes and you should be able to make them. The ones that you cannot make, just message me and I will maybe make a small video of that and share it with you. So you have the whole of next week to practice these, and I can guarantee you that you will need at least 6 months to come to some level of happiness, let's say, because I don't want to equate enjoying the script with any kind of proficiency. If you're having fun with it, that is proficient enough. That's most important. And also, you should start becoming comfortable with it such that you can enjoy making it in different applications. Like tomorrow, if you're going to uh, label your spice rack, don't go for a regular ballpoint pen and just scribble salt, pepper, and masala. Take the time and make this and make it properly. So, make a baseline, make that ascender descender space the X height, and try writing this in Gothic script. At the very least, when your relatives visit you, your spice rack is going to look like from medieval times. It's going to look like a potion cabinet. And they won't be able to read head or tail. So you can keep secret things in that as well. So before we end, I just wanted to show you, all this is fine for Gothic script, but there are more applications of the broad edge pen. So I don't want to end the session before I just show you a few things. You don't have to make it. Like I said, that all these handwritten scripts, yes, Malika.
So, so Gothic script is only lowercase letters then?
No,
Because I
no,
see
no, they
looks
have
like
very complicated uppercase letters, which I don't even introduce till 6 months. So
okay.
I can share, and on Pinterest you will find lots of exemplars also, but they break the rules of X height and
Mhm.
ascender descender space a little bit. So I'm sure if you're curious like me, you will attempt it and then you will falter and then be a little frustrating, but go ahead and do it. I'll share both pages with you. It's always good to try these things out. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. But there are more complicated strokes. So, like we had an upright, horizontal, and a diagonal stroke, and most of the letters can be achieved with this. In capital letters, there are more complicated strokes and bigger strokes and things like that. That's all. But they do have capital letters.
Okay.
Okay, so one quick demo of what you can still do with your broad edge pen before you become comfortable to make Gothic is a whole range of letters, just like our regular Roman letters. So, Deepika, last week we did Roman letters. Oh, sorry, which look somewhat like this. They're, they have a certain matrix, and I'm going to be sharing this class recording hopefully over the weekend sometime.
Okay.
This is how the letters fit in. So you have the letter O, C, G, so on and so forth. And it's also written with a broad edge pen. So you can write potentially letters like this. Even if you don't know the scale, keep your pen at the same angle and you get letters like these. But if you're careful enough to give the letters space and make these shapes more consciously, you can start making really beautiful letters without knowing Roman letters, without knowing how you make a scale with broad edge pens, any of that. What you,
So,
yeah.
so for this, the only thought in mind is like to have the pen in 45 degree.
Yes, and in this case,
Okay.
any degree is fine. So the moment you change
Okay.
that, that the letter will change. So if I want to make slightly upright small letters, I'm making the letters at slightly upright angle, which is maybe a 75 degree. I'm holding my pen like this, and I can make maybe an italic looking letter form like this. See? It's just the thick and thin movement of the nib, the movement of the nib that creates the thick and thin so easily.
Yeah.
So you can give all of this a shot. If you want your letters to look really neat and tidy, though, I would recommend making some kind of baseline and also give yourself an X line so that you can keep your letters within that shape. And let's say if I want to write your names, even if I just make some simple forms like these, It just looks so much cleaner. So the rules remain the same. You have to maintain the space between the letters, keep it uniform. DH, right?
Yeah, DHEAPIKA.
And then you can do things like this.
Oh,
Just remember that these pens work best if you um, keep moving them to the bottom, like an upright stroke coming down and to the right. So try not to go up too much.
oh, it's beautiful.
You know, I love it.
Yeah, I'll take a picture.
I'll send it, don't worry. So
Yeah, it's beautiful.
mm, it's so easy to have fun with these. Great. So this is done.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I wanted to show you with these pencils, which again I'll just quickly show you. And that's the end, I promise. I know it's so late for you guys. So these pencils can be used as the two edges of the broad edge pen. So if I want to write a letter with this, I just hold this at a 45-degree angle and I can write something like this. So I get the shape of the letter almost like a skeletal form. And then I can use a pen to just go around it and finish that shape off. So in some places I will go over these intersections, but I'll still keep the line slim. This allows me to then fill up the space with a design. I can make flourishes like these. And if I want, I can also make some nice medieval designs like this. And thus we can make what are called drop caps, so that I can make this and I can then continue next to it my regular letters. There you go. Okay, so on that note, we can end.
Thank you, Aditi.
Thank
Thank you.
you. All right, so just for next week, I'm going to introduce you to the cursive hands, which will be scripts that were invented from the 17th century to the 19th century. Um, we won't be writing with them, but I want to introduce you to them, and then we'll just use our regular pencils and pens to create those kinds of letter forms. So you know how to make them. They're called open shaded letters. They're great fun to make. You don't really have to know calligraphy as much. You'll be able to do it without that. Okay?
So for
Yeah.
your travel journal, do you recommend like a certain font to write with,
Um,
or what is the easiest that works with the travel journal? Because I saw some that you taught, and they were beautiful. Especially the writing was also very nice, which made the entire, you know, the piece come together really nice. Yeah.
So normally I work with two options. One is just making regular upright capital letters using paint and brush. That is a
Mm-hmm.
very nice look. Sometimes I use brush pens to
Mm-hmm.
make the letters. They are they can be good fun to write as well. Then I use box kind of letters. So they're like a
Mm-hmm.
skeletal letter around which then we'd make a box. So I try to keep it versatile, but also not too complicated. Unless, of course, that complication is part of the design. I have been known to make complicated designs. But I'll show you one diary in which I do use. You have 2 minutes, right? I'll just show you one. I do a lot of this lettering practice or illustration practice in a journal I keep to note ideas that I have read or heard about in some podcast that I read, and then I will write what the podcast is, what date I heard it. So here I use a different font based on the story that I'm writing. And I've kept this as a very, very small journal. This is an A6 size journal. So whatever I need to note, I have only so much information space. So these
So
are,
Aditi,
yeah,
the this is cursive, right? What you have written.
Right.
yes, this is good.
Okay.
You're going to teach us that too, right?
Next week, yes, I'm going to show you
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
See here, there's lots of different fonts, and there is the story of the letter G. I think I have written somewhere here.
It's so beautiful. It's just
Yeah,
like a
I was going
printed
to say
book.
it's so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, do you gift like handmade gifts, handmade
I
books
can't
to,
believe it.
yeah, it's so cute. It's so pretty.
No, hopefully I will finish this book this year and just share it amongst my students. I mean, I've wanted to do so much of this, but if only I was given at least 36 hours for every 24 hours other people there, I would love it. And of course, I don't need to be given food or water or sleep. I just need a pill for all of that. I'm very happy. Yeah, so I still have blank pages where I've written stuff that I have to complete. Yeah, I'm almost halfway there, so this will happen soon. But yeah, for the journals, my normal lettering is, I guess, like this, a combination of
Mhm,
this is what I would normally title. And then
mhm,
in one journal, I will keep it exactly that. I will not change that because that remains like a thread running through the entire. Then I'll do something like this. The road signs in,
Mm.
where was this? Why can't I not remember this place? New Orleans, sorry. So the road signs are written like these, and they're so pretty, all in Roman letters, by the way, even now. Yeah, then I'll do something like this, just because I want more time. So this becomes a nice, fun way to practice lettering. Wherever you go downtown, there will be a space where there'll be lots of neon lights and beautiful signage. So, in that sense, America is blessed with beautiful, beautiful signage. You can just do any of that. Yeah.
Thank you for showing all this.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, it's
happy to.
so inspiring.
I am such a I'm sure there's a word for this, lover of words and letters, and I've been that since I was maybe 2 years old. So anytime there's lettering to be done, I'm like, yes, I'll tell you more, I'll tell you more. Let's all sit and do lettering for the rest of our lives. All right. Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much for your patience.
Thanks, Aditi.
I'll
Thank
see you
you.
Yeah,
next week. Bye.
yeah, all
Bye
right.
bye.
Yeah. Bye.